which is about the impeachment, and or as I call it, the prearranged impeachment. I want to remind you, first of all, what the standard for impeachment is. Impeachment, what has been used as the left-wing dog whistle by, Maxine Waters, all sorts of leftists. The moment Trump won, he was going to be impeached. Somehow they're going to impeach him, they're going to get him. The Constitution actually says, Article 2, Section 4, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for, which is what the House does, the impeachment vote, and conviction of, which is what the Senate would do, conviction of, and then here are the reasons you can be impeached: treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Treason, bribery, other high crimes or misdemeanors. Well, that's part of what, in fact, I cut Rudy Giuliani's clip a little short earlier. He was raising the point when Biden is saying, I'm going to bring about the forced firing of this prosecutor because he's investigating my son's company, and if you don't do that, if you don't fire him, I'll withhold $1 billion in aid. I mean, that's in the ballpark of bribery, I would say. And this is why the left is so nervous, because Biden did everything they want to accuse Trump of. But that's the standard for impeachment. I want to get to one other little point about impeachment before I get to the prearranged part. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not, because the Constitution doesn't really specifically address whether an impeachment vote made by the majority of the House, and then suppose you had impeachment and you had that moved over to the Senate and they convict, so they've impeached. And that is what brings about removal. Is that an appealable decision? The Constitution does not say whether or not someone impeached could take it up to a higher court or take it right to the Supreme Court to raise the question, what constitutes a high crime or misdemeanor? Assuming you can't get treason and you can't get bribery, so you're talking about basically the high crimes part. What does high crimes mean? There was recent talk among pretty well-informed people in Washington saying there's no appeal process whatsoever. Constitution doesn't allow an appeal. So, if you have a Democrat majority in the House and the Senate and they go for impeachment and they go for removal, then, the president's out of luck. He can't take it to court no matter what happens. I don't think that's right. I did somebody else's show last Friday. We got in this with another lawyer. We kind of got in this discussion a little bit. But I just want to plant this seed about that. The Constitution clearly did not contemplate that presidents should be removed or could be removed because of political disagreements. That's not what the Constitution intended. It is a Constitution that's talking about removing someone, whether it's president, vice president, judges you can remove, other high officers you can remove for high crimes and misdemeanors. Well, if something is not a crime at all, it can't be a high crime. If it's not a crime at all, then it can't fit under high crimes. If it's not a misdemeanor and it's not, treason or bribery, it has to be a real crime. And even that, I would say, I want you to picture the scenario where America became so divided, and we're pretty close now, became so divided that you had a, Democrat majority who clearly had the votes there, the number of people in the House and Senate to bring about impeachment, and just move for impeachment because we really always hated this guy. We want him gone. And they came up with some completely concocted false witness who said, oh, yeah, I saw the president do X. And they went ahead and there was clearly no validity to it, no legitimacy, no truth. But if you had a House willing to impeach, a Senate willing to remove, do you really is the whole country who chose that president, who elected that president, is the whole country out of luck? Is the president out of luck? I'm going to say no. I'm going to tell you that if we get this far, which we're not there yet, and I don't think we'll get there, we have to insist that this kind of decision, which is, to me, what is happening in Washington, is patently political. No one really thinks Trump did anything constituting a high crime or even a misdemeanor. No one really thinks, maybe Maxine Waters, no one who tries to assess the law and look and apply them to the facts really thinks that Trump is guilty of a high crime or misdemeanor, especially in light of what they know Biden did. It's not even close to a serious assessment. But they are driven, the Democrats are driven by their base, their promises they've been given since the day that Trump won the election, that they'd get him out somehow. They have pounced on this because they had created a bit of a frenzy in Washington, and their Washington bubble and the Washington media. And I think Nancy Pelosi and the team just decided this is the best shot we're going to have. We couldn't get him on Mueller. We couldn't get him on the witch hunt we did. We couldn't get him on conspiracy. We couldn't get him on obstruction. We couldn't get him on electoral college. We couldn't get him on the Emoluments Clause. And we couldn't get him on all the other things we tried. Okay, this one, at least at the moment, has some teeth to it, or they think it does. So they're jumping at the chance to find something to bring the vote of impeachment forward. So I want to mention two things about this vote for impeachment. One is that it should not be lightly dismissed how consequential it is that the media is talking about impeachment. I'm going to get to that story in a moment, but there's some polling, by a really reputable conservative polling that shows the more the media talks about impeachment, puts it in the same sentence with Trump, advocates for it, that the percentage of Americans who support impeachment goes up. Now, to be clear, the majority of Americans are still saying no to impeachment. They cannot. There's no reason to impeach this guy. The majority gets it. Majority of Democrats polled do want impeachment. But right now, it's happening. The House is coming up with their impeachment, the articles of impeachment, and the Democrats, the 18 Democrats who currently sit in a U.S. House seat in a district where President Trump won, those folks have been sent back along with other Democrats to go to their home district and talk up impeachment. They've been sent home to their districts. This is actually a break tied to Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah, that's an excuse for them. But Pelosi has got these people headed home to their districts to talk up the idea of impeachment, to gauge the idea with their voters. How upset are you going to be if we impeach the president? Because she knows that some of those Democrats will lose re-election if they vote for impeachment, if their team, their constituents didn't want their member of Congress to vote for impeachment. She's worried about it. She's trying to let them gauge their districts, and she's getting them to talk it up and talk it up and talk it up. This is what she's doing. It's very calculated. When I get to this idea of talking about the premeditated impeachment or prearranged impeachment, I mean a couple of things that are now coming to light. Number one is that there was a change made by the Democrats after they won the majority again. Remember, they didn't have the majority the first 2 years Trump was in office, but they have the majority now since the elections in 2018. Democrats made a change to permit a whistleblower complaint that is not firsthand knowledge. That's always been a no-no. That's always been you can't do that. You can't take a whistleblower complaint that's from that's hearsay. That's a rumor. You can't impeach somebody. You can't start down the process of this whistleblower thing if you don't have someone with firsthand knowledge. Democrats changed that rule so that it allows this whistleblower complaint, which, as we've discussed already in this show, the whistleblower complaint that alleges wrongdoing by Trump in this call with Zelensky is not based on firsthand information. The person says, I didn't hear it myself. This is what someone told me, and somebody else told me, and other officials happen to say. It is just a big fat, list of rumors, list of secondhand hearsay by someone who did not have firsthand knowledge. This normally would not even have met the standard of constituting a whistleblower complaint. But now it does because the Democrats changed the rules. Another rule change the Democrats made right after they came into office, they got the majority again when they won the midterms in 2018, were changes to the rule about whether or not to launch an impeachment inquiry required a floor vote to start it. Clearly, a floor vote would endanger the Democrats. It would endanger these Democrats, 18 of them, who sit in seats in the districts where Trump won, and also give the opportunity to Republicans to have more leeway, more play, more ability to speak up if a formal floor vote was taken. The Democrats are trying to push this snaky, sleazy impeachment effort going around the right of the Republicans to have any say in it, going around the need for a floor vote, pushing it through two different committees in two different investigations, trying to basically get to the notion that they can push the impeachment thing, pretty much leaving the Republicans out of it. And obviously, Republicans are going to vote against it, but the Democrats have the majority. And I'm saying this not because the Democrats have been sleazy, which they have, but because we need to get this, we have to comprehend that this impeachment has nothing to do. This impeachment the Democrats are trying has nothing to do with anything President Trump ever did. It's not about the Zelensky phone call. That is a pretext. It's an excuse. It's something they can say. At least it's been in the media. You had a few media figures having a meltdown about, okay, that this is what it's about. But you have to get this. This is a premeditated, a prearranged effort to impeach the president. The decision was made to take this guy out somehow as soon as he won. And as soon as the Democrats won the majority in the House, as they did in 2018, and they have the power to change the rules, and they have the power to change procedures, and they have the power to cut out the Republicans, they went for it. And it wasn't because these are long-term rules they always thought should have been changed. It's because they were laying the groundwork to impeach the president. It's vital to understand this. The impeachment effort we're watching in Washington has nothing to do with President Trump's call with Zelensky. It has everything to do with the deep state, the utter determination of the radicals on the American left, of the Democrat Party, frankly, the uniparty in Washington, whose world is being blown up by President Trump's commitment to drain the swamp. These people decided long ago they're going to find something, and they pounced on this one. And, this impeachment thing, I've said it before in the show, I don't know how to say it in more important ways. Impeachment is supposed to be reserved for serious, grave wrongdoing, bribery, treason, not because President Trump encouraged another country's president to look into the criminal wrongdoing of a past vice president of this country, a past administration. The craziness of it is, as you heard from Giuliani this morning, Giuliani's saying he didn't have to go digging around to try to find something about Biden that was wrong, that merited serious investigation, that was obvious evidence of serious wrongdoing. The Ukrainian government gave it to Biden. So you got the Ukrainian government trying to help America's law enforcement, who doesn't want to hear anything about Biden. They finally get their complaint about Biden, Joe and Hunter, and their interaction with the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian government pulls together the story, the evidence, the information, the investigation. They hand it off to Giuliani. And you have the Washington Democrats with control of the U.S. House acting like they actually mean it, trying to convince you to believe they actually mean that they are moving for impeachment of President Trump over a phone call with Zelensky, given all that we know that Biden did. The reason I really care about this, my last point on this, is that it is impactful, no matter whether you think it should be or not. It is impactful how frequently, how vociferously, how determinedly the American left talks about impeachment. Great piece on the Patriot Post, a really smart guy, great writer, Mark Alexander. He's made up a new word. Instead of propaganda, you know what propaganda is, he has polaganda. And he's basically saying that polls show that when the media keeps talking about Trump and impeachment and impeach Trump and maybe impeach Trump, that plays in the minds of Americans, and that you see the numbers of Americans saying they think that impeachment should happen go up as the number of times, consistent with the number of times the media pushes this impeachment idea. In fact, when all the impeachment fervor was going on previously, and then the Mueller report came out, and everyone realized that there was nothing there, that the whole Trump-Russia collusion was a big fat nothing burger. In fact, not just a nothing burger, but a concocted attempt to remove the president by people inside the FBI and DOJ. When people knew that, the American public being polled, the numbers of Americans in support of impeachment went way down because they realized all this impeachment talk was based on a lie, on a witch hunt. So support for impeachment dropped. But now we have this news story, Zelensky, and this phone call between Trump and Zelensky in July, and the media putting impeachment and Trump in the same sentence. The percentage of people supporting impeachment is going back up. So it's vital for everybody listening to my show who loves America, who loves conservatism, who understands that this is just the left trying to remove the duly elected president. They've just happened on a possible basis to impeach him. This impeachment effort, again, this impeachment effort has nothing to do with anything Trump did or did not do, or that he said or did not say. Has nothing to do with it. It's a concocted allegation, a concocted accusation, a concocted impeachment effort. And the Democrats know that as they keep that word in the media, as they keep talking about it, they increase the number of Americans wanting impeachment inquiry, concerned about it. They are doing this to weaken President Trump. And there's nothing more to it than that.